disabled people are included in your school, what difference does it make?
An increasing number of parents are exercising a choice about where their disabled children are educated, and for many, that choice is their neighbourhood school.
Spin it around again. The blue one this time. You want the dark?
It's given me more confidence of getting on with people without special needs, because if I went to a school that only had special needs, I don't think I'd have made many friends as I have here.
If I have a choice, then I will always feel happy that I can be mixed with other people.
There's something also that's unique about growing up where you have your own peer group and there's no parents perhaps, and it's something that you develop with children of your own age.
She's got a broader outlook on life. She knows what life is about. She's not being sheltered.
Education is a whole life skill thing. It's not just about examinations, it's not just about literacy or numeracy, and I know that's sacrilege to say that this day, but education is about preparing young people for life.
What we do is we listen to parents and take them seriously and try very hard to come to sort of an agreement, negotiate, and value the contribution that they have to make.
For me, inclusion means to give people an equal chance in life, especially in education.
Inclusion isn't just getting into the building.
But how about you? What does inclusion mean to you?
It's the right of the individual, regardless of race, culture, gender, social status, ability or disability, to be included within mainstream school if that's what's best for them, to have equal opportunity, and the responsibility of educators like myself to ensure that happens.
It's fundamentally a community building process. And if it's working, or if it's going well, then it should soon become obvious to that community that they were poorer without this person present.
It means including children with all kinds of disabilities, including children whom you might previously not have thought were capable of operating in mainstream, including those with severe learning difficulties.
I'm going to ask you to come up now, and with the pen I just want you to point to the number that I'm going to ask you to find. Just before you start, remember that this is 28. 28.
So it's about valuing diversity and saying, in terms of a school, all the children who live in the locality, we want you with us, we want you in.
And what does inclusion mean for us, the pupils?
I think it's a great idea having disabled and non-disabled people in one school, because everyone has the right to have a good education.
There's a lot of grown-ups that are actually really discriminating against disabled people because they don't understand, because they weren't in a school with disabled people.
It's good because people don't call your names.
The introduction of a new phrase, inclusive education, gives us a chance to rethink, really. And I see then inclusion not about fitting children in, but really about seeking to develop the school in terms of its capacity for supporting the participation and learning of all children.
Inclusion is about making the physical environment accessible, developing sensory and communication support systems, and, importantly, addressing existing attitudes and prejudices.
I think what we do is we look at a child holistically, and so if a child needs a physio programme or a speech therapy programme or an occupational therapy programme, it's seen to be part of their curriculum. It might be done during an opportunity to share a book together or another kind of social opportunity. They're part of a child's curriculum, they're part of communication skills and part of celebrating people's achievement. For children with severe and profound learning difficulties, it's about ensuring that there's a differentiated sensory curriculum. We have a space which is a white room which has got sort of different lights and bubble tubes and flashing lights and all sorts of really interesting things like that. It's timetables for all children to use, because as an inclusive school, children work in groups with their friends, and it could be for some children it gives them an opportunity to just calm down and relax, and for others it will be part of their curriculum programme in terms of tracking lights, in terms of a sensory experience to stimulate them.
First thing we look at is what a child can do and not what a child can't do.
Hello.
My name is William, and this is my friend Heather. Welcome to Filsham Valley School.
I don't think I've been disadvantaged particularly being disabled, because I think that they make a lot of things very accessible to you, which is very good. It's really nice that they are thinking. I do play hockey sometimes because my friends understand that you have to do things differently, and I have a special ball.
We're playing hockey here, and Carl is being fed in the ball. He's actually being shouted at and told where to shoot the ball to. Well, I encourage the children to take part, and if they're needing extra help, I offer that. I try to make them as independent as possible.
His friends help him around the school where he needs it. I mean, he can do it himself, but he prefers, rather than walking around with the white cane, he says he's to stand out, and it works. It feels much more home.
Now think about the poems as a whole, so that you've got all the different influences.
It is a way of working, and it becomes very everyday, very mundane in a way. It is very much an initial worry as well, and it's something that dissipates within a couple of days, really.
We're also going to look at some other areas that we haven't touched on yet.
That is a major concern for staff that arrive at the school, that they see lots of pupils with disabilities and worry that it is going to be extra workload for them and how they're going to include them within their lessons.
Basically, it's just to do with the operating, isn't it? And war is about a surgeon and amputating and then the people dying because there's so many of them.
I was scared stiff, really, of coming here and imagined, up until sort of 3 in the morning, preparing differentiated resources.
What do we mean by that? What sort of people were involved in these poems that we looked at?
It's now just normal part of life, really. I can't imagine not doing it.
One of the most common reservations about inclusion is that there will always be some children for whom inclusion could not work.
I wasn't totally convinced that full-time education in mainstream schools for children with severe learning difficulties was the way forward. I came to Brookside in the January, and we set up with 4 children initially.
I've never taught in a resource school before, and with reservations I took the job, but now I am actually passionate about children with disabilities, because I think every child has a right to the fullest education, and we cope with children with challenging behaviour. Luke and Danny, who are in my class particularly, are integrated and included in every aspect of the curriculum.
Brilliant.
When Luke first came into my classroom, he had no language at all, and this showed itself in his frustrating, rather aggressive behaviour, and he has watched the other children. He takes his role model from the other children, he copies them, and he has now got language, which is a massive breakthrough for him. And we have no longer do we have temper tantrums, because he can communicate.
Luke's learning to talk though, isn't he? He's good now at it. He can say if he wants his dinner or something, and he's hungry, he says home time. Is it home time yet? Or lots of different things now. He's good.
We like playing with Luke, and he joins in all the time. He knows his numbers up to 20, I think. If they were like all in school on their own, then there's all the children, the disabled ones on their own, and all the ones that can do it on their own. The ones that were disabled wouldn't really learn, but if they were both together, then the disabled ones would learn from the ones which can do it. It's nice having him in our class.
It's an enriching experience for the staff, the parents and the children.
The smallest number will be at that end and the largest number at this end. Which is the largest number?
What happens is that all children have a much broader and varied curriculum because of including a range of children with a range of special needs. I would like to think that staff are actually professionally challenged by it.
Ready, starting with 10 all the way to 0.
10.
And it also means that they then go on to other places and share the whole idea about differentiation of the curriculum and the flexibility to work with a whole range of children.
2.
6 and 2 more is, hands up, Ben? 8.
The reception children just continue the curriculum that all the reception children will do.
4.
2 more. 5. Well done, good boy.
The children in there are based in groups and they do the numeracy hour, the literacy hour and the topic sessions that are going on in the classrooms. They are seeing good role models. They want to be included in everything that's going on. They want to play with the other children. They want to be doing the same work as the other children.
I think there is strong evidence that a way of developing a more inclusive school is through drawing on the resources of children so that children actually support one another's learning. And what's interesting about that is there's also research to show that that way of working actually benefits all members of the school, that a greater emphasis on child-to-child collaboration actually has an impact on everybody's learning.
Some software called Dragon Dictate where Tom speaks into the microphone and it gets used to his voice. Train words up so eventually he doesn't need to use the keyboard.
Jonathan's at the moment, one of our biggest success stories because he has very challenging behaviour and has a statement for behavioural difficulties.
Dictate mode.
His papers were sent to several special schools in the country and he wasn't accepted by them.
Dictation.
And so we decided that rather than permanently exclude him, which is where we'd almost got to, we'd have to do some radical rethinking to keep him in school. He has marked aptitude in a number of subjects, which includes IT. So we asked him to join some of our teaching staff and learning support staff on the training for Dragon Dictate, and then asked him to work with individual pupils with disabilities to train them up. And he's been absolutely delighted. It's built his self-esteem up, but he's also been very, very good with the students and had some very good successes with them working on that programme.
Some of the young people in our schools at the moment are extremely difficult to deal with, and teachers need as much help and support in that difficult work, and it would be foolish not to say that. I do think the separation of the discussion of behaviour from a consideration of learning is a very dangerous one.
Everyone knows that I'm not sensible, but I can work quietly in my place.
Style Common Junior School rests on a beautiful hill overlooking our catchment area. We have a large number of children with special educational needs, and particularly children that display difficult behaviour patterns. I think it's important that what we don't do is separate children out because they have particular difficulties.
Some children think I'm good, some children don't even bother thinking, and some children just think that I'm bad.
We have mixed ability classes, and within those classes there is a mixed range of needs. So those children go into a class which is they're not withdrawn for any reason. We put a lot of support in to the classroom to support the class teacher, and we have a behaviour policy which recognises and rewards good behaviour.
I'd like to think that we use what we would like to call positive behaviour strategies. Instead of focusing on poor behaviour, we really make an effort to concentrate and praise and reward positive, good behaviour.
The first year that we came up, we all went into the assembly to make up some rules, and we wrote them down on some paper and we voted for the best ones.
Many of our children come from quite challenging backgrounds, and their behaviour at home is very different to the behaviour we would expect at school. So it can be quite a shock for these children to have to conduct themselves in such a different way.
If you're good, Mr. Bosley will have a system on the board and he'll put your name up, and then once he's put your name up, there's a chart stuff by the wall and you colour one of the squares and there's one of your points.
By allowing the children through a sort of process of democracy to formulate their own rules, I think it gives the children ownership of those rules. And it allows me, as a teacher, to refer to them and say, look, you're breaking one of your own rules here. You know, is that really what you want to do? Can I remind you that they're your rules and why we wrote those rules out?
When I became head of the school, staff and I sat down and tried to decide the best way of managing our children with difficult behaviour. And we came up with a set of ideas. One, that we should have the right to teach, and children should have the right to learn.
Just think of an instance when you have been particularly caring, sympathetic, you've helped somebody. And I don't just want, oh, I picked up so-and-so when they fell over in the yard.
I helped my friend when he got hit in the head with a golf club. I helped my brother when he fell over. I helped my little cousin when he fell over off his scooter. I help my next door neighbour. She's very old and she almost fell over.
How many people have been upset by what other people have said?
Your mum's an astronaut, and I felt and I felt really upset because I was offended about it.
And what do you often want to do? Archana? Exactly, you often want to go back and thump them. You can walk away. Stop, think, do the right thing.
I don't care what other people think if they call me goody two-shoes and all that. I just like being good, and you get good education when you're older.
If children grow in a society where they don't see children with challenging behaviour and they don't learn how to manage themselves within the situation of a child displaying difficult behaviour, then they are going to have some very large shocks when they go out into the big outside world.
When I was first informed that Aaron would be coming into my class, I was asked obviously what I felt about that, and I think that's really important. It should be something that you feel that you're part of the decision making as a class teacher, and you should feel that you have support from your head and you're able to negotiate issues around that. Since teaching Aaron, I've now been on Makaton training on using the ICT widget program for communication. I've been on courses on autism and Down syndrome, and perhaps I wouldn't have done that had I not actually had to face it. And I'm very glad I faced it.
In many cases, difficulties of behaviour occur because children are not finding their lessons particularly relevant or meaningful or helpful to them in terms of how their life is developing.
See you next time.
I think the issue of behaviour has to be seen as part of a school's strategy for improving learning in the school.
The Circle of Friends has been established for Aaron within Hogarth School now for 2 years, and children who moved up with Aaron to keep him with his familiar and current peer group. Basically, it's a peer support group for the children to support Aaron in his full inclusion within the school. And it works because they're there at playtimes, they're there daily in his life, and it's to encourage the individual to become more independent, to develop perhaps further social skills, and to make friendships, really. It enables children to talk about things quite openly that's happening in school without too much teacher input. They need to be perhaps prompted sometimes, but mostly it comes from them.
I used to be dead naughty, so I've had a responsibility to be good. So Steps groupers give me this responsibility to be good.
It gives them an opportunity to talk about issues at school that aren't always about Aaron, but can sometimes be about visits or the way that class is set up, but things to help support Aaron.
The Steps group has really changed my life a lot because it's helped me be a really good friend.
One of the very first things we started, we were a bit concerned about, was the literacy hour, if you remember.
Yeah.
Andrew will remember this, and because Aaron was very restless in the literacy hour, and I said, has anybody got any ideas about that? And you said, we all need to learn more.
Science.
Yeah.
What do we all learn to do?
Yeah, Robin Hood sang a song and sang it.
We did, we sang, and everyone in the class sang and sang, didn't they?
Robin Hood, riding through
the glen, wasn't it?
Riding through the glen.
In the last 6 months especially, we have noticed lots of changes in his learning and the development of his social and communication skills. This has been supported, no doubt, by the Circle of Friends.
Aaron is signing a lot more, isn't he?
But more than that, by the actual support of the whole class and the school as a community.
Yes, you say everything.
I'm providing for him something very different, and what that is exactly what the Circle of Friends is based on: peer support.
How many of you can now facilitate yes and no then?
Socialisation is seen as an important educational objective, and learning to get along with your classmates is a major part of that process.
Circle of Friends is a support group of young people who are recruited to work in a very focused way around one individual.
I wanted to join the group to get to know Marisa more, because we're in her form. When she first came, we didn't know how she communicated, so we didn't know how to approach her. But now we do, and we get on a lot better and got a new friend out of it.
I've got 3 little things for you to discuss with each other here. I think if you just do it in pairs or threes, however you want to do it. One is why you wanted to be in the Girls Gab Gang in the first place. Second one, what your aims for the group actually would be. How would you like it to turn out, having been doing this now for quite a while, having all been together and you're starting to see each other socially outside of school, and how you think it's going so far?
And the most natural form of support is people about the same age as you, people who are in the same place as you, and for a young person, people who are in the same class as you. And that we've found to be very powerful and very important, not only for the young person, but for the other young people.
Yeah, I wanted to join it to give Marisa more opportunities. I don't think there's any reason why she shouldn't have the same opportunities as what we have. We've all became quite good friends since September.
And they learn masses out of it as well, in terms of PSE, PSHE, social skills, listening skills, understandings at a much deeper level.
Yeah, I just wanted to join the gang to learn more about Marisa, and we've learnt to say the yes and no, and maybe in the future might learn how to use a letterboard.
Marisa, have you got any more personal assistants yet? Yeah. Do you want to tell us about it? Want to tell us about who it is? Her, him?
There needs to be agreement and acceptance from the focused child's parent and from the focused child themselves, as far as that's possible.
Did you manage to get through all 3, Marisa?
An equally important building block to have in place is that there needs to be a key member of staff in the school who has the time and the commitment to ensuring that the process gets going and continues.
The commitment from senior management to make sure that they will be able to follow that through is absolutely essential.
Who wants to tell us what you discussed first then? Who wants to feedback? You still want it to be all girls? Marisa, do you still want it to be all girls?
Yeah, that was hesitant. Would you like any boys in? No, not at all? Are you sure?
No, because we can talk about it.
You usually chat about boys, don't you?
Yeah. Is this
I think in the beginning it was difficult with some teachers. It was the fact that they couldn't accept that it was Marisa that was doing the work and answering the questions. There was always a question of who's the one that's doing the communicating and the work. I think some thought that it was probably me, but the majority of them have been very open-minded about it, and they've accepted Marisa and they've accepted that it's not me that's doing the work, because there have been other facilitators and the results have been the same despite the person that's helping Marisa. So the ones that have had doubts have suddenly come round to, the right way of thinking, and they've been a lot better now, a lot better.
What we're doing is building support networks, which can blossom out into friendships elsewhere in the peer group, but, so people shouldn't go away with the notion that they're going to make kids be friends.
Well, I first met her in September. I didn't know anything about her. All I knew that she was disabled, and it was Marisa. And after some map, I could tell her what she wanted from life and what she didn't want, and how she felt and how she was treated in the past and future.
MAPS is another kind of inclusive tool. It's a person-centred planning tool. It's a process that goes through a series of 8 key questions that ends up with an action plan focused around an individual.
Before we actually did the map, we didn't actually know Marisa's background. We know a bit because we're in her form, but not a lot. And we know actually what she wants now and what her fears are, so we'll try and help her through it.
2 of the key questions in the MAPS process that the group spends some time brainstorming is what is our dream for this person and what is our nightmare for this person.
The part where it says what is Marisa's story, we went through the past, we went through Marisa's life so far, and we learned a lot from that. Then we went on to do Marisa's dreams, which we learned what she wanted to do, what her dreams were, and the future.
To be a writer and own her own house. And then we went on to her nightmares and her fears. Nightmares are not able to achieve a dream. Everyone has equal rights. Marisa's can achieve a lot, and she'll go on to do that. Hopefully she'll be a writer.
Other disabled students around this school, ask me for help, approach me with problems that they have with access to the buildings and stuff like that.
Through the years I've developed quite a few friendships, but in the first 3 years kids were scared of making friends with me because they didn't know how to handle me.
I get on well with all students, no matter whether they're able-bodied or disabled.
But what about the non-disabled pupils? Does inclusion mean that the teacher's attention is focused on a select few?
What it does do is allow them the skill to be able to close out particular moments where a child might be having difficulty and get on and actually operate in that system without any difficulty. They are receiving the same positive framework that the children with difficult behaviour are, and they're being rewarded for their good behaviour, so it has to be good.
Doctors have found that exercise is better than tablets for getting rid of stress.
At the beginning of the group session, children will go and get Craig's chair for him, make sure he's settled, and then the activity will start. If we're looking at letter sounds, they help each other out by sort of saying the sounds to each other, lots of talking about it, and they're very respectful of each other. You know, there's no laughter or, you know, silliness because someone doesn't know something. So they're very supportive of each other.
Nowadays, a lot of families have a car and very few children cycle to school.
It challenges them to understand other children, and it develops their thinking skills, really. That's a challenge for the children, and they can find a way to include Hannah. They're very clever at that. For the mainstream children, it's been a brilliant opportunity, both socially and intellectually.
I think knowing Marisa, you learn a lot. Like, she was a lot brighter than me, put it this way. And like most of the maths work she gets straight away, so it's surprising. Like, people might think that she can't do things, but she's a lot brighter than other kids.
I feel great knowing that I have them. They help me a lot. I am pioneering for disabled kids. And so are they.
The Girls Gab Gang.
3 Jacks. I just made friends with Carl because he's in my class. I just went over and started talking to him. We found we liked playing cards and started.
Or, I don't know, dealing with your right hand again.
I was dealing with my left hand.
I like Legend of the Overfiend. That's a wicked film.
That goes without saying. Until they started talking about those things in people's blood. Oh, there's nothing wrong with the idea of midi-chlorians. Every chance we get now, we sort of start playing cards at lunch and break.
Oh, the master at dealing.
Thank you. You're bragging again, aren't you?
Yes, I'm bragging.
Yeah, 4 9s.
Wait, I'm confused now.
No,
he's still won. He's still won. I got full house.
The best people who knows how inclusion can and will work as young people with disabilities and their friends. So if you have any problems, ask us.